How we doing? Yeah, thanks for coming out. First of all, we want to thank everybody in football ops support staff for a great training camp, preseason. Jeremy Young and EK and the trainers and everybody that supporting our trip to Green Bay. It's a big undertaking, and there's a lot of work and logistics that goes into that to pick up the group and pick up the whole football operation and bring it to a beautiful city for a week. We're excited to get going here and we like what we've done. We want to thank the guys in the scouts last 48 hours. Everybody's been jamming upstairs and working their connections, studying, getting to know a lay of the land as best we can. We'll be doing that a lot tonight too, as we see everybody else's initial practice squads and trying to set up our initial practice squad, and then maneuvering off of that, adjusting some on the 53. But really excited about our 70, and we'll keep working our that 90 group too, that and then all the guys that have been let go, bringing in guys for workouts, having a nice ready list together for the season, and bringing guys in for workouts, getting physical, and see where we are, see where we can go to, so we can keep the competition going throughout the season and make our team as strong as we possibly can. And for the opening game against San Francisco, as well as into February. So with that, we'll take questions.
We're pretty excited about your draft class back on draft weekend. Now you've had all this time. Every draft pick is either on the 53 or on the practice squad, and you got some UDFAs. How do you feel about the rookies and how they performed so far?
Yeah, that's I think we've talked about that before. It's kind of like we always feel like like we're talking to surgeons or doctors after. I'm sure you guys feel that way talking to us, right? You're like, yeah, everything was great. It was a phenomenal surgery, right? You always feel great about it. I guess I think we're all excited about the players. I think we're all excited about the development of the players as well. Watching the education, the clarity, the teaching that's going on the field, and the intensity. I think that's what stands out, and to watch these guys improve week by week, some of them day to day, quite honestly. So and watching them have some setbacks and then respond too. So we're excited about it.
How was it the second year working with Mike and putting the team together? Was it any different this year, kind of with you guys knowing each other maybe a little bit better this time around?
Well, sure. You're always, Pete and I every year too. You're always trying to improve your process, and so I think with Mike coming in last year, Baltimore has a great personnel staff. Starting with Ozzie years ago, and then now Eric DeCosta. So they have a really good process there. So he's used to a specific process. He had to get used to it last year, but I think there was a pretty strong level of trust with Mike. And this year was more, I would say, with the defensive staff was clean, and then the offensive staff has coached, in the league for a number of years as well. So being able to get with those guys and having that experience that they have really helped. And so we're just really excited, and we're really proud of how smooth it was and the interaction that we could have, cruising in and out of each other's offices, and the no walls experience was great, especially over the last 3 days, because these guys are they're game planning, the coaches, they're game planning, they're getting ready for San Francisco. They get extremely attached, which they should, to the guys that that they've been coaching, the 90 guys, and then all of a sudden, the next day there's 53, and then now we're back to 70, and guys are in and out. We're asking about guys on other teams. We're asking them to evaluate other guys from other teams, and if they like them, and if they want to work with them, and what they've heard, and work in their relationships. And so they're extremely busy. But we just really love the pliability and the communication that was going on, and it'll continue to go on. But yes, Oh wow, sorry, long answer. Yes, it was better, and hopefully every year it continues to get better as well. But we have trust in each other.
What have you thought of Jalen's development, and where do you feel like his readiness is to come in and kind of fill that role that you had envisioned for him? Playing a few plays a game all the time.
Yeah, Jalen. Like we talked about at the draft time, those guys are very well coached. At North Dakota State, and okay, I didn't hear the last part. Like, so I'm done. Sorry, Jalen Milroe.
Milroe, yeah.
Yeah. Well, those guys are very well coached at Alabama. That's a damn good coaching staff there too, right? No, he did great. His work ethic's outstanding. He's got a great, live personality. He's got a lot of juice. He's got swag. He studies like crazy, and he's following Drew and Sam around and spending a ton of time working on his craft and doing the extras on his own. And I'm sure he would have, liked things to go his way with the ball security the other day a little bit better, but really excited to see what the what the offensive staff's going to do, like how we work them in, and what the plan's going to be. But yeah, very excited about his development.
On the other Jalen.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, man. Yeah.
The job that he's done, Bray alongside of him.
Yeah.
Kind of the progress of that offensive line that you've seen throughout camp. Is it kind of what you were hoping you would get out of the staff and to get to the point where it's one couple preseason games of actually seeing the season really positive start?
Yeah, absolutely. Jalen came in as a versatile player as well. Good athlete, great brain, great work ethic, and when we talk about smart, tough, reliable all the time, he legitimately is that. So, JB, Enrico, those guys done a great job with him. Coach Otten, those guys just there's buy-in there, right? There's a legitimate scheme that they're running off the ball, they're gaining confidence, and they're confident in what they do, and yeah, he's done a really nice job, and he's a smart guy. He's going to have command of what's going on.
How decisively Horton bounced back? How much did that change your plans?
Who's that?
Horton. I'm sorry, Horton. Torrey Horton. How
Yeah.
decisively he bounced back right away from the knee and took over. How much did that change your plans on offense roster?
In terms of the roster, it didn't really, quite honestly.
John, how do you feel about the O-line? Starting O-line.
Yeah, start. We like it. Again, it comes back to the developers, the teachers. There's an attitude they can have in this scheme where they can come off the ball and feel confident about themselves. Yeah, I think they're spending a lot of time together. I think you've seen a lot of growth within the group. Like there's a camaraderie that's starting to come together too. That's the whole team, not just the offensive line, but that group's kind of a group you like to see kind of spending a lot of time together, because they have to work as one. So, yeah, we like it. We're like every other position. We're going to keep trying to work it. We'll be looking at practice squads, looking at tryout guys, trades, whatever we have to do. We'll be continuing to work that position. But this group in particular that's here right now is they're doing a really nice job.
Kendrick, who played off waivers. What do you like about him?
Yeah, so Willie did a great job. That's one of his teams, and he was a guy he identified that we really wanted to spend time with. We've competed against him. Obviously, Coop knows him. Ernest, he's a competitor. Really nice mover. Really good ball skills. Came back from his ACL strong. We thought he had a very nice preseason, and he's the guy we identified last night, and trying to work with that group to have as many corners as you possibly can. And again, it's not just for San Francisco; it's for later in the season.
John, you haven't yet at least announced any extensions for the 2022 class. How do you what's your philosophy on kind of paying ahead of the final year and extending versus waiting and seeing them do what they're going to do in the final year and then paying potentially a higher price afterwards?
Yeah, great question. It depends. It depends on the individual and where they are and how they're performing or what their story is. Everybody has a different story. There's a lot that goes on behind closed doors that, we're proud that we can keep that in-house. And, we love our guys, and we'll keep working with them. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you just have to move on to the next guy. And we don't ever stop trying to do that. But there isn't like one just standard, philosophy, other than the fact that, since we got here, like, Mr. Allen, his philosophy is, we don't do anything without, 1 year out. So we'll continue that route.
There's potential to still get any extensions done, or does, once the preseason's kind of over, does that kind of wait till?
Oh no, it's always going on. Yeah, it's constantly going on, and it's just it's kind of in flux again, depending on the individual, depending on the representation, how's it going, the what kind of mood Joey Lane's in, that sort of thing. That was a joke, Bob. Yeah, it's supposed to be funny.
How do you feel about the receiving core and obviously the decision with Valdez-Scantling and kind of the way it came together?
I take umbrage with that, question about. I'm kidding. That was for a friend of mine as well. I was supposed to say that. You just happened to be the person that asked the question. How do I feel about MVS? The signing and receiving core is really strong. We really like it, especially the physicality of it. There's a really nice combination of receivers. I think I'm not sure if Clint's talked about it with y'all. I don't know, but there's a really cool uniqueness to all of them, and there's a cool physicality with with Bobo and Derek and Cody, and really important, in this scheme you have to be able to block, and so we like the group. MVS, he came in and did a nice job. He competed. Those guys were ahead of him, and so that's the way it goes. Unfortunately, you gotta get down to it at a certain time, and it was a very good signing for us at the time. We added Torrey in the draft, and that is a guy that can kind of take the top off, and so that's his kind of MVS's specialty. So very similar to Torrey in that regard. Yeah, it's huge. You're gonna get tired of us talking about 70, but it's legit. It's hard. It's hard for those guys. Yesterday's a hard day when they're, those guys that they've both worked so hard to, feel like they've earned a spot like on the, initial 53. But honestly, you guys have seen how many transactions we make. It's really just another day. There happens to be 1,184 guys out there. So we're really excited that Bo and Peely are back, and now it's who's which one's going to be elevated for the game. If the coaches decide either, are we going to have a guy up? Are we not? Both like to your point, Jay Reed and Byron can play there as well. So it's really going to be fluid until we get to next week and see how the coaches feel about the game plan and defensive game plan and what that looks like.
Did you get the buy-in from Bohanna, John? He's a free agent, could have signed anywhere, and he signed with the practice squad.
Just I would have to say the coaches and our support staff, like Mo Kelly and Soup and everybody in this building, that his one thing, we have a plan for him. He knows that we want to keep developing him and working with him, and I don't know if there's necessarily buy-in. He knows what his role is, and it's unfortunately until he's elevated, he's not going to get the same paycheck, those guys, right? But once they're elevated, they are being paid. So it's like, yeah, there's a darn good chance he could get elevated. He's gonna at some point, 17 games, hopefully, a number more. So the same thing with Peely. Peely had a really nice preseason as well. Those guys were doing a really nice job competing. When you're putting together that group to try to get through, the way guys getting through guys in the waivers is actually, and it's hard for players. I understand that, but it's a strategy to try to figure out how to have 70 really good players instead of just, you're not necessarily taking the best, whatever you want to call it, top 53 players. You're trying to take the best group of 70 that you can collect as quickly as possible initially. Now you'll see us. We'll make some transactions off of our practice squad as well as we move forward here in the next several days. And when we have guys in for workouts, and you guys have seen it. It'll never be totally settled, but those guys we had on our 90, we expect those guys to be ready as well to jump on our practice squad if we have deficiency throughout a week or a specific game plan and all that. So
You make more out of the claiming because it's maybe not as common, especially in the last few years, because of the practice squad rules being liberated, and to use that when you talk to guys like
absolutely.
Keely and Mohana.
Yeah, absolutely, and the elevations have really helped. Yeah, that's a great point about the waiver claims as well. You can protect your team a little bit better. The veterans being on a practice squad, going right to it. So, yeah, you're on it.
What's impressed you most about what Sam has done on the field? Sam Darnold, that is.
Yeah, I think we've, just the. I'd have to say coming in and the leadership and being a guy, just being a teammate and a leader and working his tail off and studying and I think you had asked about the background and with San Francisco before, and what happened to him there, and that's a whole, that learning curve for him was huge. He had never experienced anything like that until he got to Kyle's background with his father. And so being able to, when we were in Kansas City, our primary role was I was advancing for Marty Schottenheimer, so be able to study his father's work and the zone scheme and all that, and then the footwork and the timing. And it was also so important to Coach Holmgren and Andy and John Gruden and all those guys. So be able to see him work his feet. These guys call it listening to their feet. So yeah, it's kind of cool. They give me a cool lid that says listen to your feet. So, but yeah, I think just if you just said okay right away, it isn't, and it's not like that he's not talented. I think it's just like coming into a new place like this after having a great year like he did, and just buying into everything we talked about with, like what we look like as an organization, the staff, the building, his coaching staff, his position coach, and then just being a leader and pulling guys aside and working with guys and, sitting down having lunch with different position groups and stuff like that, so.
What do you feel better about this year's roster compared to last year when you started the season?
Oh man, yeah, I think it has to be the offensive line, but it has to be more the unit and the cohesiveness of the group than guys like individually, if that makes sense.
You've worked with Mike now for a year and a half. How have you seen him develop, grow as a head coach? The first year on that job can be hard on guys. How have you seen him just grow in that role?
I mean, he can just absorb information, and he has a huge brain, and he can go from like 0 to 100 really fast. He can be laughing, about whatever, like something silly, and then he can be super aggressive, like wanting to fight you, and I like that about him. But he has he's a very clear thinker and a clear communicator, and so I think there's a natural comfort and confidence that comes with standing in front of a team all the time, having a full off season to kind of digest like what you want your team to look like, what you want your culture to look like, and he's been able to really bite into that, and I think express that to the players and his staff and all football operations and the whole building, quite honestly. And so I think it's just a natural progression, but it's happening fast for him. I mean, it's a hard question because I thought he came in and did a great job in his first year, right away, and nothing was too big for him or freaked him out, or like the sky's falling, and
You mentioned how you're more excited about the cohesiveness.
You've been in the weight room, huh? You've been in the weight room. Nice. Is that your son's shirt or
Yeah.
your little brother's shirt? Sorry. Yeah.
The cohesiveness of the line.
Yeah.
But, let's the individuals. But Gray was your number one pick.
Yeah.
And just how much has he done to solidify the line?
Great question. It's been awesome. I mean, it's a huge piece, and the fact that he played with Jalen too, not Milrow, Sundell. The fact that those guys played together, so you got two guys that are, there's a familiarity there. So that team, or that unit bonding and that cohesiveness. But he's a tough guy. He's got a great personality. He doesn't act like and Jalen didn't either. These guys it's a really cool program to have there, and so they came in and they both acted like pros, and he's done that right away. He hasn't acted like anything's too big for him, but yet he's still doing all the rookie hazing stuff and carrying helmets and doing all that.
Some undrafted free agents on the roster with Jared Ivey and Connor O'Toole and Nick Callerup. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on those guys and how they performed.
They did a great job. They earned it, and it also comes back to talent, yes. Work ethic, did they earn it? Yes. But it's also who's going to be able to get through waivers, and how do you navigate this initial wave when everybody's setting their rosters. So all three of those guys flashed huge in preseason games. They all did things that really stood out on film. So, and we had a vibe that we may not get guys through. So again, it's kind of how we're building this thing, and so it's hard to they did a great job. It's also how you're building your team initially.
Obviously, you said that when you watch the Seahawks team play live, you're looking at the defensive and offensive lines. When you look at those two groups right now, do you feel like they're where you want to be to get ultimately where you want to go this year?
I never feel like that, but it's not like a bad thing. But I think they're both doing a great job. I know it's very hard for these guys, these young offensive linemen, to come in and be going against Jay Reed and Leonard and Murph and like that whole group of guys. So to be able to see those guys, compete against each other, I would say yes, but I can't, say. Like Mr. Allen used to ask me, like, well, how many games are we going to win this year? And I'd be like, I don't know. We feel good about it. I can't tell you, like, better than previous years and all that kind of stuff. I can't tell you. I'm excited that for both sides of the ball, and I think they're doing a really nice job so far.
How paramount is that to the whole season? That right there, the offensive.
It's huge, and they'll continue to. That'll be continuing, throughout the whole year. We're just looking at this group today, out the window, watching these guys practice and the one-on-ones, and watching all the guys on both sides of the ball kind of coaching each other up on what just happened. And it's a great group. Leonard's a great leader. Chen always, but like Jay Reed is, he's always been, even in his Alabama days, they always talked about him being a great leader before he left to go back to JC, and then he came back to Alabama and was the alpha dog leader, and he's a huge piece of what we got going on here.
Looking back, just can you talk about that unit, and then the importance when George Kalani stepped up?
The running back unit?
Yeah, running back unit, and then when Kalani.
Sorry, that fans. Yeah.
I'll speak a little louder, but
no,
McIntosh goes down and Kalani steps up, and you also had competition. Jacardi Wright,
yeah.
Martinez. How important is it for that for a team that wants to run?
It's immense. KP does a great job coaching that group. He's a great teacher. He's hard on those guys. He demands a lot of that group. So, George has always been a player that's been a very well-rounded player, whether it's pass protection. Heck, first game I saw him play, he was like, saw him play live. He was returning punts and kickoffs, and then they had and he was like the every down back, and then they had Genty come in the game once in a while, So he's always been a really talented guy, and he's just very, very well-rounded. And you know, I know Coach Harbaugh and those guys and Fitz, those guys, they love him on special teams as well.
John, there's a report you guys are bringing in Chaz Serrano. I don't know if you confirm that or not, but
I cannot.
what is your thoughts on the off-ball linebacker that you have? Trying to get moving away from it during camp and during
Yeah, that's a group that's you know, we got to get Tyrese going. You know, I'm sure Ernest wants some more traction behind him as well. Drake and Patio did a great job in the preseason. You know, we wanted to add to the group. We will. We'll continue to be, you know, working that position. Yeah, I thought Patty and Drake both had really nice preseasons. They really carried the defense all throughout the preseason, making the calls and. Sorry.
Shaquille Griffin,
Yeah.
the move with him today, was that, I mean, obviously, guys, you know, well, was that hard with Shaquille, or is there a chance he stays around? Or?
Yeah, he'll stick around, for sure. We love Shaq.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.